It's time for Recipe of the Day. I know I've mentioned king oyster mushrooms to you so many times at this point, but today is the day when I am finally telling you how to cook them. I am so excited. These are like one of my favorite new things that they have at my grocery store, but I first had them when I was in Belgium this summer. Back there, they were sold at every grocery store, whole, big, and glorious. I bought them, cooked them. My whole family loved them. I thought we would never find them here in the US. And then one day, suddenly, like 3 months ago, they were just there at my grocery store, already sliced and like on a tray wrapped in plastic with like holes in it. But like still, they are amazing. And I'm going to tell you what they are more specifically in a second, but I'm going to say if you're worrying about buying those flats wrapped in plastic, these mushrooms are actually a drier kind of mushroom than any I've really had before. Like they're not dry, they're fresh, but they don't get like damp. And so they actually keep in the fridge in their packaging for a long time. Like I want to say, count on 3 to 4 days, but I've had them in there for like a week. And so lately I've been buying them like every time I'm in the grocery store, I buy a pack or two, I put them in my fridge, and I know that when I want a quick snack or a little fun appetizer or something to add some pizzazz to dinner, they are there waiting for me. And I'll be telling you how versatile they are in a second, so you will use them for sure. But first, so what are they? I called them king oyster mushrooms. They're also sometimes called king trumpet mushrooms or French horn mushrooms, but they should not be confused with oyster mushrooms. If you've had oyster mushrooms before, these are not like that. They don't even really look like them. I think of oyster mushrooms as looking kind of like frilly coral, and this is not that at all. These are more like tall, thick toadstools. But like if toadstools had a different ratio of top to stem, the stem is thick and the top is narrow. And of course, I don't mean like crazy red blotchy things. These are like brown and white colored, like normal mushrooms. You know what? If you don't know what they look like, go to thecookful.com and search for king oyster mushrooms. And I have pictures of them cooked, sliced, and whole. So you will definitely be able to see. They do not look like oyster mushrooms anyhow. These mushrooms are native to the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and Africa, and they're very popular in Asian food too. Now, I don't really like these ones uncooked. You really want to cook them. They have quite a firm texture, and even when cooked, it's like a satisfying, firm, but yielding texture, not quite chewy. And I'm going to tell you that these are often used as a vegan or vegetarian substitute for scallops, because they have a similar texture or mouthfeel to scallops. So they have scallops. You can bite through them, but they have that like firmness that's like satisfying. That's how these mushrooms are when they're cooked. And I'm going to talk about using them as a substitute for scallops in a second, but I'm just going to finish with like what they taste like first. So they have a mild mushroom flavor. It's a little bit earthy, a little nutty after cooking. Both the tops and the stems can be eaten. They have a really nice savory, like umami punch, and that is why they're used as like a meat or seafood substitute. So to use them as that scallop substitute, if you think about this, it's going to make sense. I was telling you they have kind of a thicker stem, right? Well, you take that stem and you slice it lengthwise into round medallions, about like 3/4 of an inch thick, so that they're about the thickness of a scallop. They're white. Those stems are white. And now they have the right like thickness and shape, and then you pan fry them and they are like scallops because they have that texture as well. Lovely, right? Now, the recipe that I'm going to be telling you about is for when they are sliced lengthwise, so not like medallions, because that is how they're sold in my grocery store, as these like long slices, but the recipe doesn't change if you're doing it as medallions instead. I am going to be telling you how to very simply pan fry these, because that is how I think they are the best. And then once you have them cooked, you can use them just as like a little appetizer. You know, these are pretty new in the United States and people aren't familiar with them, so they're just excited to try them. You can do a little dip on the side like ranch or that chili crunch I was telling you about, bonus, but everybody's going to be so excited to try them. They can be just on their own, maybe some bread, the mushrooms, or you could do them as part of like an antipasti platter with other things as well. So they're great that way. As a side dish, you can serve them in those lengthwise bigger slices alongside meat or poultry. I usually will cook them as those big slices, and then after they're cooked, chop them into chunks to serve like on top of a seared steak. That's really, really great. Or you could do them as those medallions, and then they look really nice kind of underneath a steak or a chop, just kind of peeking out, right? And then, like I said, as an entree, you can do them as those faux scallops, or you can slice them into the chunks and toss them with pasta, serve them over rice. And I'm going to tell you, they are amazing instead of portobello mushrooms in a mushroom burger. You want to do like 2 or 3 overlapping slices per burger, pan fry them like I'm going to be saying, and then put them on the bun with your other toppings. Delicious. Okay, how do you cook these? So if they're not already sliced, you're going to slice them. 2 king oyster mushrooms in 1/3 of an inch thick of the lengthwise, like long slices. That's going to be about 5 to 6 slices that are 1/3 of an inch thick. If you're doing those scallops, you're going to be doing the widthwise slices. So you get the medallions. They're going to be about 3/4 of an inch thick, and you're going to get about 4 of them per mushroom. You're going to heat a tablespoon of cooking oil, like olive oil or canola oil, whatever you like, and a tablespoon of butter in a large skillet over medium-high heat until it's very hot and the butter is frothy. Give it a stir. Then add the mushroom slices in a single layer, not overlapping, pressing down on them to give good contact with the skillet. They kind of like pull away in the middles, you know? So you want to just kind of keep pushing down on the middles, and you're going to cook until well browned underneath. That's going to be about 2 to 3 minutes for the 1/3 of an inch slices, maybe another minute longer if they're 3/4 of an inch. Nice and brown underneath, flip them over, then sprinkle them lightly with salt, and then continue to cook them until they're browned on the bottom. It's going to be another 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how thick they are. Transfer them to a plate and serve them like that, or use them in a recipe. I know that seemed really basic and simple, but you're just going to love these. They have such great flavor and texture, especially the first time you try them. Just do this, see what they're like, and then, sky's the limit. You're going to be using them in everything. I'm going to put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is February 21st of 2025. And if you like my cooking ideas, you might be interested in my free mini cooking courses. You can sign up for those at cookthestory.com/courses. There's a bunch of different ones to choose from. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.